Hey. All right. Just gonna give it a quick second here. Uh, it's always a blessing and a privilege to be able to go live, to be able to share things that are on my mind, things that are on my spirit, my perspective on things, my insight based on my experiences in life and based on what I understand to be truths. So thank y'all for popping in regularly and just sharing and supporting the bigger movement, the bigger thing is the message that we put forth. So today, my spirit, I had a cry session this morning. And I'm not ashamed of having cry sessions myself. I think it's a very important outlet for a man to know how to deal with grief and deal with hurt and deal with disappointment and deal with pain and deal with suffering as a man myself, because that's the only experience I have as a human being. So I have to always speak more about in generality to myself and my gender. It's not to say that I don't think about the sisters, but the brothers need to get their house in order first and foremost. And me having a daughter that lives with me, daughters that I raised, I can understand a woman's and a young girl's perspective as well, because I've been through that cycle with more than one girl. Most people, most young ladies and women, they have their life and their experience. But as a dad, we experience each of our children's lives. Just like as a mom, you experience each of your children's lives. So me raising 4 girls, it gives me a lot of insight, about girls and about women and how they function and how, especially raised in my household and, the ones that I was blessed to help with. So understanding that and then understanding myself and the struggles that I went through when I was young and all the things that we were going through, helps me get, put things in that perspective. And I think it's in a balanced perspective. But one thing that I realized that, I didn't necessarily have this issue. I don't think so. Maybe I have to look at it a little bit more. In my experiences as a child, I have to look deeper into things like I always do. But I never felt like I had an issue speaking up and speaking out. I always felt like I was not just vocal about my suffering and my pain and my dislike and things, but I also felt like I was an advocate for others. I always felt like I was a supporter and comforter of others when they were dealing with situations. I often consider myself an overachiever, in a sense of that I wasn't just academically bright, because that in my opinion, yeah, it takes discipline and it takes some understanding, but I don't think that's the principal things in life and the deeper things in life to be academically smart. But I felt like I was morally correct, that I was a defender of the poor. I was the defender of the mistreated. I was the defender of those who couldn't defend themselves against all the people who may have been preying on them, whether it was teachers mishandling or mismanaging their authority, or whether it was students that were expressing trauma that they understood with violence and through anger, picking on kids and bullying other kids because they probably saw that type of behavior behavior in their household. So this is what they were just practicing and emulating in reality, and trying to get the same response out of other kids that they were viewing. So in that case, though, we have to remember, you got kids who are watching adults. You got kids who are watching adults that are supposed to be mature, adults that are supposed to be handling things in an adult-like manner. You got kids that are watching these adults handle their situations as adults, and the child is not differentiating whether the response being a childlike response or an adult response. All they see is a response, so they can only internalize that, what they're seeing, what their senses are picking up on, what their ears are hearing, what they're feeling. So with that said, we have to be extremely careful to these situations, because we teach children how to be violent by showing them violence. That's that simple. We teach children how to be angry by expressing anger consistently and not controlling that anger. Versus if you control the anger, you teach them how to control their anger. So now they're less of a threat to society, and now the chances are lower for you, for the parent, that something dramatic or bad is going to happen to that child, because society doesn't respond in kind. Society responds with force. They're not going to have as much love for our children that we have for our children when our children are out of line. They're not going to take the same amount of care for our children that we're going to take for them when our children are out of line, because we don't teach them how to be in line, or we allow them to be out of line. Or there's reasons why they're out of line. There's always reasons why they're out of line, because out of line just means that they're seeking healing and don't know how. Think about that. When a child is acting up, when a child that they're seeking healing, we can call it validation, we can call it attention at that stage and even at a later stage, but it's all tied to the perception of life and how they internalize their life. So when you see someone acting in a self-destructive way, whether they understand it's self-destructive or not, that is a call for help. That is a call for help, and not in an enabling sense. Not for you to aid them in their self-destructive behavior, especially as a parent. Especially as a parent. As a parent, you cannot enable your child in self-destructive behavior. That is going to cause the deepest amount of inner turmoil and inner conflict you can ever instill in a child. Now, as a child, a lot of children get caught in that inner conflict because the abuser is often the parent. Knowingly or unknowingly, it doesn't matter. The effects are still the same to the child. So whether you knowingly or unknowingly affecting your child to that extent, your child is still going to bear the brunt of it until they find a way to overcome. And that's probably not going to happen if they don't run into Christ, the true and living Christ, too, at some point in their life. There's nothing that's going to fill the gap. There's nothing that's going to give them their spirit back. The Father of spirits has to do it. There's no job, there's no accomplishment, there's no diploma, there's no, there's no salary, there's no husband, there's no man, there's no car, there's no purse, there's none of that can give you that. When children are in this situation, they can't speak up. It's hard for them to speak up. They feel like they're speaking against their parent. That's tough. When you feel like you can't speak about your pain, when you can't speak about your suffering, when you can't speak about that inner turmoil that you're going through, when you can't address it. Oh my God, you can't. How can a child live with that? How can we expect them to be okay? We can't. We can't. They won't. They're not going to be. Not if we don't step in as parents. Not if we don't step in. I don't care if you're an abusive father or an abusive mother. Somebody got to step in and stop it. Somebody has to step in. And as a child, or an adult child, an adult that has the age of an adult, but the stage of a child, an adult child. If you're in a situation where you cannot speak up, then you have to get out of that situation. You have to speak up. You have to find help. Now imagine a child without the adult experiences, how conflicting that can be. You have to speak up. For the child out there, wow, it's tough. Knowing that we can always go to the Most High God first. Sometimes you have both your parents just wailing on you. One emotionally, one physically, one spiritually, one, you never know. It's tough. We should be ever so grateful if we find the smallest amount of peace in life. For the child that can't speak up, God can always hear you. He's devising a plan right now. Not even devising a plan. He already has it in. It's already for it in his will to give you peace. You may have to reach some of it. You may have to put some effort into it. We are called to endure until the end. We are called to bear each other's burdens. We are called to overcome. To overcome. God understood that life was going to put us through the ringer. That we are called to overcome. It is okay. Recognize someone who loves you and talk to them. And when I say recognize someone who loves you, recognize someone who loves themselves, someone who is careful with themselves, someone who takes care of themselves, someone who protects themselves from environments and people and who's picky about themselves. That's often a good sign of someone who cares about themselves. And try to speak up. Sometimes, hopefully, you can find that in an adult. Hopefully, you can find that in an authoritative figure. But sometimes you can't. But you still have to speak up. You can't be afraid when you're dealing with inner turmoil. You have to let this out somehow, some way. If it's bearable, try to dedicate yourself to your gifts, to your talents. If you sing. If you play an instrument, play it. If you color, if you draw, whatever you do, try to find a way to let it out. But by all means necessary, we have to heal. You have to be able to speak up. We have to make it okay. Parents, ask your children if they're okay. And if they just say yes, and you see something is different, you stop that situation right then and there, and you acknowledge their hurt. You acknowledge their confusion. You acknowledge their pain. You acknowledge their voice. How dare you not acknowledge your child's voice? It's gonna be okay. Just wanted to share that this morning. Too many kids are suffering alone, scared to speak up. If it's someone outside the house, child, speak to your parent. Go to your father. Go to your mother. Don't hold things in. Don't be discouraged because you're gonna start something, or because you're gonna cause drama, or don't be discouraged by that. It has to happen. It has to happen. If someone is doing something to you, someone is abusing you, if someone is touching you, you have to speak up. Oh, you don't want something to happen. It has to happen. It has to happen. There has to be war. It's already war. You have to speak up. You have to find help. You have to trust God. There's a purpose for everything, but we're meant to overcome everything. We're just not meant to understand everything at the same time. Speak up. Speak up about your pain. Speak up about your suffering. Don't worry about what it does. Those who love you will understand, and they will step up and they will protect you. We have to heal. Every day we have to heal. Healing is part of every day. We heal a little bit every day from the drama yesterday. And while we heal today, we encounter more drama today that we'll have to heal from tomorrow. That's part of the process of the living experience. Don't be afraid to speak up, y'all. Thank you for sharing some time with me this morning before the Sabbath Eve here. If you know someone that's going through something, investigate. If you feel that somebody's dealing with something, investigate. Don't let it go unchecked. Fathers, this is our job. This is our position. Take care of the business. Protect your children. Protect your sons. Protect your daughters. I'm learning how to do that myself every day. It's not an easy task. That's why there's a call to action. As I learn and as I grow. All praises to the Most High. Thank y'all for popping in. Y'all end the week well. Work hard. Get to it. Love God. Love each other. Peace, peace.